So Israel is planning to apply its full sovereignty over parts of Judea and Samaria, the Jews' ancestral land, also called the West Bank. This plan triggered a lot of opposition around the world, but notice that in Israel itself, it's already well accepted. 20 years ago, it was debated. Today, I can tell you that most Israelis are willing to apply sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, the ancestral land of the Jewish people. Israel declared its independence. In May 14, 1948, it was immediately invaded by its Arab neighbors, wanting to destroy it. Now, as you can see in the map, the brown show the Egyptian army, and the purple is the Jordanian army. And on top of it, the olive green color, this is the Iraqi army. Now, when the war ended, Israel won the war and they signed a ceasefire agreement with the Arab countries. According to the agreement, Jordan kept the area taken by the Jordanian and the Iraqi army, thus creating the so-called West Bank. So the international border between Israel to Transjordan was actually the Jordan River, but Jordan invaded the area that you see in the map right now, and in the ceasefire agreement in 1949, Jordan and Israel agreed to the ceasefire borders for now, as you can see in the map. After 1949, Jordan annexed the area of the West Bank. But you need to understand that an international border can only be changed by an agreement between two countries. And this is why the so-called Green Line, the border between Israel to the so-called West Bank, was never an international border. Right now, they're telling you that this is an international border, but it's not. It's only a ceasefire border. Now, after Jordan annexed that, by the way, most of the countries in the world did not acknowledge this so-called annexation. Even in the Arab world, it was not accepted. Now, in 1967, Jordan joined the war by Syria, Iraq, and Egypt against Israel, and it attacked Israel, even though Israel asked Jordan not to intervene in the war between Israel to Egypt and Syria. Jordan attacked Israel, and in response, Israel attacked back and conquered East Jerusalem, the old city of Jerusalem, Judea and Samaria. So and the war ended with a ceasefire agreement, and those were the borders. So there's a new the international border between Transjordan to Israel. Actually, it became the ceasefire border, but since there's no agreement to change the international border, this is international border between Israel to Jordan actually returned to be the same. It became not only the ceasefire border, but also the international border anyhow. All right. Now, Israel took by force this area, but it didn't annex this specific area outright. It implied a military management, a military government over this specific area in order to run peacefully the Arab that are living there. And also in the same time, after 10 years, Jewish settlement start to evolve in the area. Jews that wanted to return to live in their ancestral land. In the beginning, the government didn't approve it, but slowly it did. And when the right wing won in the election in the 80s, then they completely supported that and it became a fact. And this is why today you have more than 500,000 Jews living in Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria. All right. So one thing that you need to understand is that Israel already applied in 81 its sovereignty, full sovereignty over East Jerusalem, and not just the old city of Jerusalem, also the Arab neighborhoods of Jerusalem. So it's actually it's about maybe 500,000 Arabs today. Maybe it's even more. So those Arabs, by the way, they are so-called Palestinian Arabs, but they have IDs, Israeli IDs. They still have a right to vote in Jordan. So they can go to the Jordanian embassy and they can vote anytime there's an election. They can do it because they actually have Jordanian passports and so-called. I mean, Jordanian IDs. Now, what Israel is planning to do right now is actually to apply sovereignty on 82% of the area, leaving all the major Arab cities. So, leaving Hebron, Bethlehem, and Ramallah. Of course, Ramallah is the capital of the Palestinian Authority. Shechem and Jenin and Tul Karem. All right, and I think that the area of Tul Karem is also included with Taibe and also Kalkilia. I think Kalkilia maybe is outside. So this is very similar to the plan that was presented about 10 years ago by Naftali Bennett of applying Israeli sovereignty on Area C. And over there, they talked about applying sovereignty over Area C, I mean just C, not so it's a Jewish area plus all the rural areas that has about maybe 100,000 Arabs, and we're going to absorb them. And because you need to understand that in Israel there is an issue between the Supreme Court of Justice and the government. There is a risk that if the government will apply sovereignty, then you're going to have people that will appeal to the Supreme Court of Justice. You have to give them full citizenship. You have to give them full voting right. Now, actually, Israel doesn't have to give them full civil rights. Doesn't have to give them voting right. Okay, so this is everything is done in a process, and it's something that the government need to make a decision about that. Obviously, you're not gonna take people that are taught to hate Jews and kill Jews. You're not gonna give them a right to vote for the Israeli parliament, obviously. So that's why it's a very long process. But what we're seeing right now, even though nobody's talking about that, right, is that actually most of the Arab population is actually not going to be under Israeli sovereignty anyhow, so it won't be a big issue. But eventually they will get to the point that they need to make a decision on what to do with the Arabs. But this can only be done once the conflict between the Israeli government, any kind of Israeli government, to the left-wing, overwoke, progress, liberal Supreme Court of Justice, all this conflict is over. Because until then, you cannot make a good decision in this regard, and this is something that is very important. You don't want the Supreme Court of Justice to basically hinder the work of the government, trying to make those people peaceful, make those people suitable to be Israeli citizen. You need to understand that in Israel there's already 2 million Arabs, and those Arabs, that when Israel was established, they didn't get citizenship immediately. They were under 16 years of military rule, and only until it was understood that they are pacified, that they're not intending to do anything wrong or fight against the country, against the state, only then they received Israeli citizenship, and they were voted to the Israeli parliament, and also they have a right to vote, they have a right to be elected, and they don't really pose a threat to the Israeli public. So this is basically the prolonged plan for the Arabs living in Judea and Samaria as well. Right now they're talking mainly about Judea and Samaria, but it could be applied one day for Gaza as well. All right. So now don't be afraid of what I'm telling you too much, because you need to understand that there is no breaking of international law of what Israel is doing. First of all, the area is technically the area is under full Israeli sovereignty, because the international border between Israel to Transjordan is the Jordan River. So the West Bank is already included in Israeli territory anyhow. All right. Now the other thing is that the Geneva, the fourth article of the Geneva Convention doesn't even apply to Israel, because this is only when it's done during war. So only if people are talking about a settlement not being legal, if it's during war, you forcibly transfer population to an area that is occupied, then it's against the law. But there's no war in the area. I mean, there's no like declaration of war between two countries in the area, and also there's no forced transfer of people. People are coming to the country, are coming to the land, and they settle peacefully out of their own will. So there's no forced transfer of population from Israel to Judea and Samaria anyhow. And also this is their land. Hebron, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, Shechem, this is the land of the Jews. This is where the Jews of the history there. You see this? You probably know this is Hanukkah. Where do you think Hanukkah happened? It happened in Judea and Samaria. All the story happened in Judea and Samaria. All the battles. I'm going to show you. Hold for a second. I hope you remember the story of Hanukkah. All right, so if you see the map, look, all of it occurred in Samaria, North Judea, basically. So all the battles between the Maccabees to the Greeks happened in Judea and Samaria. So we even have an entire holiday just for that. So you cannot tell the Jews that this is not their land, this belongs to the Palestinians, all right? Forget about it. So get ready for annexation or application of sovereignty, at least in 82% of Judea and Samaria. And Israel should not be worried about any kind of sanctions. Listen, when October 7 happened, we saw who are our friends and who are not our friends. So countries that became, they criticize us for defending ourselves. They criticize us for defending ourselves. We don't want you as friends. We don't want you as friends. We don't need you, okay? If you cannot be our friend when we are in need, like we were in October 7, we don't want you. Ireland, we don't need you. Spain, don't need you. South Africa, don't need Turkey. We don't need you. We don't need your friendship, okay? Forget about it. We don't need you, all right? If you cannot be a friend when we are down, forget it. We don't even care what you think. Your opinion doesn't even matter. So you're going to get angry about annexation? Okay, just accept it. This is the end of the Jews, all right?